everyone, good morning. Today we are going to go over how I went from this image to this image. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I did was made some adjustments within Lightroom. So when you're in Lightroom, if you go up to develop here at the top, it'll bring up these panels here at the sides. And the first thing that I wanted to do was just bring up the exposure. So on the histogram here, I'm just grabbing this center piece. As you can see when I scroll through, the different pieces of the histogram are being highlighted. So in the center, that would be your exposure. And if I move this back and forth, you can see the exposure right here adjusting. So all I'm doing is right clicking and moving that exposure dial over a little bit. Where right here is the shadows. When I scroll over the shadows, you can actually see this little bar being highlighted as well. I'm going to bring those shadows up. And here are the blacks, and I'm going to bring the blacks up a bit. I'm also going to go over to my whites and bring those down. And maybe the highlights as well. I might bring the shadows up a touch more. There we go. And the next thing I want to do is go down to the temperature here, and I'm going to bring some more yellow in and just warm his skin tone up a little bit more. So right about there is good. And I'm going to go down to, let's just see where we're at here. So there's the open, and there's with all those adjustments. I'm actually really liking how this is, so I'm going to open this up into Photoshop now. So I'm going to right click on my image and say edit in Photoshop, and it will bring my Photoshop up. Okay, so now before I make any other adjustments on this image, I'm going to want to bring my sky and the light in. So I'm going to bring my sky in, and I will link the sky below. The sky, I believe, was from Florabella sky set, and I think I chose number 4 of the Florabella set, and just dragged and dropped that in. And I will link the, below these, where I found these skies and the light. So I'm just going to hit Control T to bring up the transform tool and make sure that my sky is covering that horizon line there. And I might bring that down a little bit more actually. There. And I'm going to change this blending mode from normal to multiply. And I'm just going to bring the opacity down a little bit, maybe 86, 85 looks good. And I'm going to put a layer mask on this, so I'm just going to hit this little camera icon here. Go to my brush. And you need a normal round soft brush, and you're just going to paint this line away at 100%. Now I'm going to bring my opacity down and just kind of brush along that horizon line a bit more. Bring it down some more, like 20%. Make my brush bigger. And do that again. And as you can see, the clouds are super sharp, but the background here behind him is very soft. So we need to blur this sky to match our background. So I'm gonna go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Oh, sorry, you have to have it on the picture, not the layer mask. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm just gonna bring that up until it looks, you know, equal to the background here. So right about there looks good. Okay, enter on that. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is bring my light in, and my light overlays are actually from Tara Lesher, and it's from her fog, I think it was her fog and light rays like overlay set that she had, and I don't know if she still provides those or not, but I will, if she does, I will link it below. So I'm just going to drag and drop the one I used in here. I'm going to see this light patch here, place it over that light patch, and just hit enter. And we want to change the blending mode for this to screen, and put a layer mask on here. And we need to brush away these lines. So with my black brush, I'm just going to, at 100%, brush these lines away. And I kind of just went in between these rays just a little bit. And about right there is good. Then what I need to do is click on my background here, and I'm actually going to go to my photo filter and warm him up. So it's just going to be create a clipping mask. So if you right click and you create a clipping mask, it's going to clip this layer just to your background layer, so it's not going to accidentally affect any of the other layers. And it's just going to warm him up a little bit. And we will also take this thing out. So what I'm going to do is click on my top layer, and if you hit Shift Control Alt E, it's going to create a merged layer above all of these layers. So what I'm going to do is just take that out with my patch tool here. I'm just going to grab that. There's like a light post or something in the background, and get rid of that. Clean up that background a little bit. Alright, so now I'm happy with how the sky and the light is looking, but I do need to warm up the water a little bit because the sky is so orange, it would be casting an orange light on here. So what I'm going to do is just create a solid color layer. I'm just going to randomly pick some orange color here for a second, and we're going to change this to soft light, and we're just going to bring that opacity down to like 45, and I'm going to invert this. So I'm going to hit Control I to invert the layer mask, And I'm going to just go into that color again and make sure that it's going to match the sky. So I'm going to select kind of a very peachy orange color, and I'm just going to go saturate that a little bit more and hit OK. Alright, so now with my brush at 100%, I'm just going to kind of brush this on the water here with my white brush. And it's just going to warm that up. And we may want to bring the opacity down a little bit. So we'll just bring that down a little bit more. Maybe we'll just keep it at 40%. So as you can see now, the water looks more orange, and so it looks like the sky is casting this orange light onto the water. Alright, so now I'm going to just flatten all these. I'm going to go to my background and right click and flatten, and then I'm going to bring up my Painted Beauty collection, and you can get this in my Etsy shop, which is just linked above on my page. And I'm going to kind of give it a bit of a matte tone, and I'm going to hit play there, and it's just going to matte that up a little bit. I'm going to flatten this, and then I think I want to go to my paint on light. That's what I'm looking for. And what I'm going to do is just paint this on him. So we're going to, at 100%, paint it on. And then we'll go bring the brush down to about 50%, make it bigger, and brush it on again, and make this less again, maybe 20%, and make my brush bigger, and then brush that over him again. So it's just going to lighten him up. We'll flatten that, and then we will do the painterly vignette. And we want to make sure our brush is at 100% for this, and you can always lower the opacity if you want to, but I'm going to darken the entire sky with it, and then just kind of go around the edges around him down here. Like that, and we'll flatten that. Alright, so now I'm going to go to my frequency separation action and hit play. And it'll explain here, how these layers work. But this first layer is the blur layer, and you want to take your lasso tool here, and I'm just going to zoom into this little guy, and we're going to just grab bits of his skin. And we're going to go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and make this about between 7 and 10 pixels, and hit OK. And it's just going to smooth out his skin a little bit. Once you've played that blur action, you can go up to Filter. Where is that? Filter. And the action is right here at the top. You can play that. Or the shortcut, let me just grab some more skin here, is Control-Alt-F. And it will repeat that last action you just did, or filter. Control-Alt-F. And you just want to keep repeating that till you get all their skin totally selected. Control D to deselect. And under this one here, if you take your brush, you go from the normal mode to lighten and 10%. Just make my brush really small here. I like to use this to brighten up under the eyes or any places on the skin that you want to brighten up. So I'm just gonna select a bit of lighter skin and then paint over that shadow that's under the eye or on the cheek here. I'll take the upper arm, that's a little bit lighter than this arm here. He looks like he's got a bit of a little tan. So I'm just gonna blend that in and brighten this arm a bit more. And maybe this one as well, right in here. Okay, and then this layer here is where you'll do all your patch tool or healing tool, and you'll just heal parts of the skin. So this is all mud, but I'll just show you. You can just take some out, take the scratch off his arm, or this little bruise on his cheek here. Just kind of take those things out. And then this layer is a sharpen layer, so we want to take our brush, make it normal again, and the opacity back at 100%. And then I usually just paint the sharpen over the eyes, nose, and mouth. And this is the before and after on that Photoshop and sharpen. Sorry, frequency separation and sharpen. All right, and then I'm flattening this again. Okay, I'm going to use my light creamy skin foundation. Play that. And just paint this over the highlights of the skin normally. And it just brightens it up a little bit more. Flatten that. And I'm going to use the blush on his little cheek. So brush on with 100%, probably lower this a little bit and flatten that. I'll play my blur edge action, and you just want to grab your square marquee tool and grab around that edge, and then you hit play again on the action and it will blur the edge. Okay, and then we can go into, I'm going to go down here to the Gold Princess formula that I have here, and I'm just going to hit Deep Summer Warmth, and I'm going to lower this opacity a bunch, maybe 15% here, just to warm everything up again. And that's probably all I want to do with that one. That action set can also be found in my Etsy shop. Then we want to go into our artistic dodge brush. Continue on that one. All right, so it'll have the dodge brush selected, and you want to have it on highlights, appear for range, and exposure at 3 to 5%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend these little rays just a little bit with this dodge brush. Brighten them up a little. Alright, and then we're going to go and just go over all of the highlights on this little guy. Alright, so once I have that done, I'm going to hit the artistic burn brush, hit play on that one, and it's going to do the same thing, but it'll be on the burn brush, and under shadows at 5, between 3 and 5%. And now we'll just paint over all the shadows. Alright, now I will play the artisan oil paint action. And on this layer is the paint layer. So you'll want to brush this off. As you can see, it just softens everything up. You want to paint this completely off of the eyes, nose, and mouth, and any other little details that you want to keep. And then you can also sharpen certain things. So usually I like to just give the highlight in the eye a little sharpen. Right there. Okay, and we'll flatten this. And then I'll play my sharpen for print action. Okay, that's before and after of that sharpen, flatten that. And then I always add a little noise on top of my edits. We can bring this down a little bit. 50% is a bit high, but 30% looks good. And we'll flatten that. Alright, so now I'm going to go into the history here. I'm going to take a little picture and show you the before and after all our edits. And you can grab these actions again in my Etsy shop, which is linked below. Alright, so if you like this content, please give this a thumbs up, as well as subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!